How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Okay, so in this episode, I want to talk about Byung-Chul Han's book, The Transparency Society. But in particular, I want to talk about a chapter in there called The Society of Unveiling. Okay, so Han begins that chapter by talking about the 18th century philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And he does this because he argues that Rousseau represents a pivotal moment, a turning point in Western thought. And what is that turning point? Well, it's nothing less than the rise of a confessional culture of self-exposure. Or to put it another way, the modern obsession we have to unveil ourselves. Okay, so why exactly is Rousseau important here? Well, for Han, he's important here because of his 1782 book called The Confessions, which is an autobiographical book where Rousseau chronicles his life and his innermost thoughts. Now, what makes this book so pivotal is that it's the first autobiography in history where the author writes unabashedly about his own feelings and where all of it is directed towards his readers, other people. Now, it's true that there were a few other autobiographies before, like, for instance, Augustine's Confessions. But these were very different in the sense that they were addressed to God and not other people. And their aim was personal transcendence or salvation, and that's very different. Well, again, Rousseau's confession is different, and that's because he categorically insists on presenting himself as he is. He wants to bare my secret soul, as he says. And the reason for this is because he wants to be authentic. He wants to bring his authentic self into being, and he thinks the way to do that is through this unadulterated process of confession or complete public unmasking. Well, okay, so what Han argues is that Rousseau's confessional strategy, despite what he himself says, is largely theatrical. That's to say, his alleged transparency is not completely honest. It's not honest self-revelation, but a performance put on for his audience. So Rousseau's self-exposure, Han says, is really just a kind of spectacle. Well, all of this is a pivotal turning point or a paradigm shift, Han says, because it sets the precedent for today's culture of total social media oversharing. In other words, Han draws a straight line from Rousseau's confessions, his compulsion to expose himself, to our digital age today. An age where we want constant visibility and exposure, where we want to display our lives online and reveal ourselves to as many people as possible, and an age where we think authenticity comes from total unveiling. Well, Han argues that this obsession we have with transparency, with baring our body and soul to the camera, actually has nothing to do with truth or freedom or authenticity. No, instead, what it really serves to do is to flatten us and to make us superficial. Now here, Han makes a pretty useful distinction between what he calls revelation on the one hand and unveiling on the other hand. So revelation, that's rooted in religion and its symbolic past. And for Han, what it is a kind of revealing, but it's one that retains its mystery and one that always points to something larger outside of itself. So in its discretion, there's both depth and meaning to revelation. Well, on the other hand, unveiling, well, that's just our modern compulsion to want to strip away all the veils and just lay ourselves completely bare. It's to be totally visible and to leave nothing at all hidden. So in unveiling, there's no ambiguity, there's no depth, there's no mystery. So unveiling is absolutely not an enriching. No, it's a reduction. It's total exposure. It's what Han also calls by another name, pornographic. But to get back to the larger point here, for Han, our age of visibility, our culture of constant self-exposure and confession, what it really does is it flattens us. It reduces everything to exhibition and to spectacle. And transparency like this doesn't make us deep or real either. No, it makes us empty and banal. And ultimately, we're just making ourselves consumable, reducing ourselves to mere data, to the metrics of quantification. And our obsession with self-exposure, it doesn't empower us either. Actually, this is another one of Han's major points. Constant visibility, despite how we might interpret it, is not freeing. No, it is partaking of our own surveillance. It's giving up our privacy and autonomy for what? For recognition and for attention. Self-exposure and online exhibition, it generates a data stream that corporations and governments can use to monitor and to control. And self-exposure also feeds the machinery of algorithmic governance, where we become guided and manipulated, but without noticeable coercion. The bottom line is that what looks like freedom to us, where we so willingly expose ourselves online, is ultimately a form of control. It's a way for us to become complicit in our own monitoring. It's a giving up of that sacred private space where genuine autonomy can flourish. You know, the French philosopher Gabriel Marcel talked about something he called the infrangible soul. Now, he was writing during the First and Second World Wars, and what he was worried about was people being captured by the systems of control at this time, where people were exploited and reduced to objects. So when he talks about the infrangible soul, what he means to remind us of is this space inside of us where our dignity and our mystery resides. A depth of being and a space that's incapable of being violated or broken down, no matter the circumstances. Now, that's pretty inspiring, and personally, I've always liked that expression, the infrangible soul. Well, here's the thing. I wonder what Han would think of this, given what he says about our transparency society and our culture of total self-exposure. Surely he would say that this infrangible soul that we thought we had is not as inviolable as we think. That what's happened is that our need for self-exposure and attention has actually whittled away that very private space inside of us that Marcel thinks is so resolute, that supposed infrangible realm of the sacred, that little space we have inside of us of negation and freedom and contemplation, where our genuine self lies. Yeah, if this is the way we're going, this inner dimension and depth of being, it really is in danger of not existing anymore. Our transparency society erodes the infrangible soul. In our age, where everything is so voluntarily forced into the light, where we are so compulsively open, interiority and authenticity and dignity, those are the real casualties. The loss of which there is no going back to what is most essentially human. Bye for now.